You remember classic Patrick, right? The lovable doofus from Band Geeks who just wanted to help his friend, even if his idea of help was, is mayonnaise an instrument?
No.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
No, Patrick, mayonnaise is not an instrument.
Now look at modern Patrick, the guy who tricks SpongeBob into drinking ink because he thinks it's lemonade, the starfish who actively ruins his best friend's life for a cheap laugh. So the question isn't if Patrick became a monster, but when. We're ranking every single SpongeBob era to find the exact moment our favorite pink pal went from a lovable idiot to a genuine menace. This is a deep dive to settle the score on which era truly reigns supreme and pinpoint Patrick's descent into chaos. Before we dive into the video, kindly subscribe to the Animation Memories. So, how are we even doing this? We've broken down the entire run of SpongeBob SquarePants into 6 distinct eras. This isn't just about seasons, it's about clear creative shifts in the show's tone, animation, and most importantly, character writing. First up, the undisputed king, the classic era. That's seasons 1 through 3. This is the foundation, the golden age everyone remembers. Then we have the mid-era, seasons 4 and 5. This is the post-movie period where the show was still fantastic, but you can feel the gears starting to shift. Next is the era most fans love to hate, the post-movie or dark age, seasons 6 through 8. This is where the criticism of mean-spirited humor and character flanderization really takes hold. After that, we have the modern era, seasons 9 through 13. This is the show's attempted renaissance, a conscious effort to win back the audience. And finally, we have the easy targets, the spin-off expansion, meaning Camp Coral and The Patrick Show. Our ranking is based on a mix of criteria: the quality of the animation, the sharpness of the writing, the consistency of the comedy, and a big one, character integrity. Specifically, we're tracking Patrick's journey from loyal friend to chaotic neutral agent of destruction. And coming in at number 6, the absolute bottom of the barrel is the spin-off expansion. Let's be real, this is the easiest ranking on the list. Camp Coral and The Patrick Show represent a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes these characters work. The core problem is that they're stretching incredibly thin concepts into full series. The charm of SpongeBob was its dense, 11-minute bursts of surreal comedy. Camp Coral tries to build a serialized, sentimental kid show around a one-off joke from a single episode. The Patrick Show takes a character whose humor comes from his lack of self-awareness and tries to make him a self-aware host. It just doesn't compute. The rewatch impression here is tough. You have to acknowledge the good. The animation is polished, there's a certain corporate sheen to it all, but it feels like IP management, not creative storytelling. It's content designed to keep a brand alive, not to tell great stories. And Patrick, this is where he hits rock bottom. He's reduced to a one-note, dumb guy caricature. There's no heart, no loyalty, just a vessel for lazy, haha, he's stupid gags. In The Patrick Show, he's not even the same character. He's a generic, wacky game show host. The spin-offs take the criticism of modern Patrick and double down on the worst aspects, completely sanding away any of the charm that made him iconic in the first place. Honestly, this era is so weak, it almost makes the next one on our list look brilliant by comparison. Almost. Dropping in at number 5 is the era everyone loves to hate, the post-movie dark age. This is seasons 6 through 8, and it's the period most fans point to as the show's absolute lowest point. And look, the criticisms are valid. The humor gets noticeably mean-spirited. The characters start to become exaggerated versions of themselves, a process we call flanderization. The research backs this up. This was a time of significant behind-the-scenes shifts, with many of the original creators moving on, and new writers taking the helm who seemed to misunderstand what made the show work. But here's the thing about a rewatch. You start to find the diamonds in the rough. This era is a total mess, but it's an interesting mess. You get episodes that are so bizarre and off the wall that they almost loop back to being fascinating. An episode like Not Normal is a great example. It's still got that mean streak, but the surreal concept of SpongeBob trying to act normal leads to some genuinely creative and funny visuals. You have to sift through a lot of garbage, but there are moments where the old spark is still fighting to get out. And this, right here, is ground zero for the Patrick problem. This is the exact moment he becomes a monster. In the classic era, Patrick was dumb, but his heart was in the right place. Here, that heart is gone. He becomes actively malicious. This isn't just laziness or stupidity, it's a calculated cruelty that feels completely alien to the character we knew. The seeds of chaos planted in the mid-era have now fully bloomed into something genuinely unpleasant. The show had to hit this rock bottom to eventually find its way back up, but man, the rewatch is a brutal experience watching a great friendship get torn apart for cheap laughs. So, climbing out of the darkness at number 4, we have the Modern Renaissance, seasons 9 through 13. This is the era that won back a lot of skeptical fans, and for good reason. The research shows a conscious effort by the crew to course correct, to return to the classic formulas that worked. You can feel it immediately. The pacing improves, the stories have more heart, and the animation gets a sleek new polish. The rewatch impression here is that it's good, but it's a different kind of good. It's more nostalgic than groundbreaking. The show isn't inventing the wheel anymore. It's proving it can still roll really well. Episodes like Lost and Bikini Bottom have that classic adventure feel, and The Legend of Bikini Bottom is a fantastic seasonal special that understands the characters' dynamics. The comedy is sharper, and the mean-spirited edge from the Dark Age is largely gone. But what about Patrick? This is where we see a partial recovery, but the damage is done. He's less of an outright monster, and more, a well-animated, higher-resolution version of the problematic post-movie Patrick. He's dumb again, but it's often a more predictable sitcom-style dumb. The genuine, surprising sweetness of the classic era is hard to recapture. He's back to being SpongeBob's friend, but the relationship feels more like a premise than a deeply felt bond. The show manages to sand down his most malicious edges, but it can't quite restore his soul. You appreciate the effort, and there are plenty of enjoyable episodes in this era, but it never quite reaches the iconic heights of the early seasons. It's a solid, respectable B tier that shows the show still has life left in it, even if it's playing the greatest hits rather than writing new classics. This comfortable, reliable quality perfectly sets the stage for the more controversial eras higher up on our list. And now we're getting into the controversial rankings. Landing at number 3 is the mid-era, seasons 4 and 5. This is the still great but declining period, and it's often the most underrated chunk of the entire series. The research here is key. This was the last era with heavy involvement from the original creators before the major behind-the-scenes shakeups. You can feel that foundation still holding strong. Why is it underrated? Because it contains some absolute bangers that can stand toe-to-toe with the classics. The rewatch impression is fascinating because the comedy starts getting weirder, more surreal. It's like the writers, confident in their established world, started to experiment more. The boundaries of Bikini Bottom stretch, and we get more conceptually ambitious plots. This is also the critical turning point for Patrick. The seeds of chaos are planted here. He's noticeably dumber than in the classic era, but he's not yet malicious. He's crossing the line from lovable idiot to genuinely problematic friend. In the classic era, his dumb ideas were often well-intentioned, if misguided. Here, the dumbness starts to have a slight edge. It's less, how can I help? And more, what silly thought pops into my head now? He's the perfect bridge between the sweet, loyal Patrick of the Golden Age and the monster he would become. He hasn't snapped yet, but you can see him staring at the lever, wondering what would happen if he just pulled it. This era perfectly captures the show in transition. It still has the heart and soul of the classics, but it's boldly reaching for new, stranger comedic territory, making it a fascinating and deeply rewatchable part of the SpongeBob legacy. So, we've arrived at the peak, the undisputed champion for most people, and landing at number 2 on our list is the golden standard, the classic era of seasons 1 through 3. This is the foundation. This is what built the show's entire legacy, spawned a million memes, and created a generation of fans. The research on its cultural impact is undeniable. It wasn't just a kids' show, it was a comedic phenomenon. Why is it brilliant? It's a perfect balance. The character dynamics are flawless. SpongeBob is naive but endlessly optimistic. Squidward is the perfect straight man. Mr. Krabs is greed personified. And Patrick? Patrick is in his prime. He's a lovable idiot, a loyal friend, and genuinely, hilariously funny. There's no malice, just a beautiful, simple-minded chaos that complements SpongeBob's energy perfectly. The writing is timeless, blending slapstick, surreal humor, and surprisingly heartfelt moments with an ease that the show would never quite replicate again. The rewatch impression is simple. It holds up flawlessly. This is the blueprint. Episodes like Pizza Delivery, with its iconic Krusty Krab pizza song and heartfelt ending, Band Geeks, arguably the greatest episode ever, where Patrick's "Is mayonnaise an instrument?" line is peak harmless dumbness, and Chocolate with Nuts, a masterclass in comedic escalation. Every frame is packed with intention and charm. This era is as close to perfect as animated television gets. It set a standard so high that every era that followed has been judged against it. So, if this is the gold standard, the absolute peak of quality, what could possibly rank above it? Well, that's where the hot take comes in. Alright, here's the ranking that's going to get me yelled at in the comments. For the number 1 spot on this list, I'm putting the mid-era above the classic era. Let me explain this controversial take before you grab your pitchforks. The argument is this: the classic era built the temple. It established the characters, the world, the rules. It's flawless. But the mid-era? That's when they threw the wildest, most creative party inside that temple. It had the rock-solid foundation of the classics, but with more creative freedom to experiment. The writers knew the characters so well by this point that they could start playing with the formula, taking bigger swings into surreal and weird comedy without breaking the show's heart. The rewatch impression is what really sold me. While the classic era is perfect, the mid-era often feels more rewatchable, more densely packed with jokes. It's the era of Krabs vs. Plankton and Skill Crane, episodes that are just as sharp and hilarious as the Golden Age staples, but with a confidence that comes from not having to prove anything anymore. It's the show at its most creatively unhinged, while still having the original soul fully intact. And Patrick's role here is the clincher. This is his absolute peak. He's the perfect balance of dumb and sweet. He hasn't been flanderized into a monster yet, but he's dumb enough to be an incredible source of chaos. He's the loyal, hilarious best friend, not the malicious liability he becomes later. The classic era gave us the blueprint, but the mid-era perfected the execution with a fearless, chaotic energy that, for me, just edges out the original. I know this will piss people off, but that's the point of a hot take. The classic era is the masterpiece, but the mid-era is the wild, fun, and secretly brilliant sequel that I can't stop going back to. So, Patrick's journey from friend to menace mirrors the show's own battle between heartfelt comedy and chaotic, mean-spirited flanderization. Let me know which era you think is the true peak, and when you think Patrick finally snapped for good. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next cartoon breakdown.